From One of One Production Studio, located in Fort Lee, New Jersey, this is The Art of Music Tech. And now, here's your host, Fela and Dennis.
Let's go, and welcome to The Art of Music Tech. I'm with my co-host, Dennis.
I'm here, guys. Hi.
All right, I'm Fela, and today, again, very quickly, we have Patrick Smith back, head of broadcast audio for American Idol and many other things that you've heard and didn't know he's touched.
Right.
Welcome back, Patrick.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
All right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we got into your personal story into audio. Now we're just going to go straight nerd tech stuff.
Yeah. All right.
We decided to tackle cables, high-end cables. Do you need them? Do they matter?
Right.
And well, we've already said yes with 23 dB. So
And also knowing that Patrick actually has knowledge in hi-fi audio.
exactly.
Yes.
So we wanted another
Makes total
voice on
sense.
this. And
Yes.
so yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk cables.
Like
and
I stated last time,
uh-huh.
I kind of veered off, and looked into consumer audio because that was where all my products ended up, in the hands of a consumer.
Yeah.
So, and it ended up either on a record, cassette, or a CD. That's right, cassette. So you had to think about, well, how these people listen, how these people at home listening to this. So I started, and how I really got into the technology was I started out with stereo systems and stereo magazines and talking about stereo magazines, reading stereo review, stereo files, stereo times, all the stereo magazines, consumer stereo magazines that led me to go to like the different shops and everything and look at the speakers and look at the technology and listen to it to see if I could hear a difference. And then, when you step it up, the basic systems, you got like the JCPenney catalog systems or the Radio Shack systems. You're in the store, you're not going to really hear a difference with that because it's just, it's put together as quickly as possible to sell as one complete set.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So, but then you go to a really nice stereo store and, the first real stereo I heard had
Sound investment.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
There was like a Yamaha natural sound and stereo integrated amplifier connected to a pair of Boston acoustic speakers. And it was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This is stereo? Then you can hear depth, you can hear the room, you can hear the reverb, and you can just hear everything. So it's like, oh my God, it was mesmerizing. It was almost like the first time that I heard a band play, like in the 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah.
We were at a football game, and my brother was playing in high school, and I sat next to the band, and it's the first time I really heard and felt the energy of a live band.
Yeah.
That's what I've been after all my life. You know what I'm saying? To get that, to get all that energy that I felt onto a record so people at home can feel what I feel, what it's like in the room. Because at the end of the day, we're just basically documenting what a person sounded like. It's like we're historians, like we're documenting it. So when people can look back on because I've been, this is weird. I did my first record, Branford Marsalis, 33 years ago, starting like around July 4th. No, I'm not that old, really. I was doing them when I was 10 years old. So so when you look back on that, that's what I tried to do then, and that's what I'm still trying to do. And I was just like, wow, I've been in this business all that time. And then, you look at the ebb and the flow of it, the ups and the downs, and the good records, the not so good records. All you're trying to do is convey. Like if you go back to 1987 or 86 or something like that, then you can say Branford Marsalis sounded like this on this day. And if I did my job, you would know exactly what he sounded like. And then you can, like, if you put all the records and line them all up in chronological order, you can hear the progression. You can hear how he got better, how he became, a saxophone master, and then this, and it's like, okay. And then now it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Now I know the whole scope of his work and what he sounded like. And any artist that I've worked with, the same way. But you have to be able to convey that to the consumer so they can get that. So this led me on a path of like revisiting those magazines again and looking at the stuff. And by that time, like companies like AudioQuest were in the mix, Wireworks, Cartridge, all these cable manufacturers, Kimber Cable, were all making cables. This is the beginning, like the Kimber cable, the PB&J was a very simple cable, no installations, no jackets or anything, just cable. And it was like red, white, and blue. It was like, wow, it's like braided and everything. It looked very simple. And then it's like, okay, if I try this cable, will I hear a difference? And I had like a little cute little stereo system set. I had like some Mirage speakers. I think I had like a Carver Sunfire amplifier or something like that, and like a little, CD player, Sony or Philips or something like that. Whichever got me into like just below the high end, like the mid-range that sounded good, that got good reviews. So, that's the kind of system I had. Like a good mid-range system, not anything high-end or anything. So I would plug the cables in and start experimenting with them, and that led me down a path of, financial ruin. Because once you buy one cable, then you got to buy another cable. And then, oh my God, this cable's $600. Oh, I gotta have it. And then it's like crack. Once you hit that high end audio pipe, you gotta keep coming back to it. You just can't get off of it. So what happened is, then I started to really learn and read and see, okay, the theories and everything behind this stuff. And some of it was weird, I will admit, but I learned a lot about, the consumer, the vernacular, the vocabulary of high-end audio. They would say stuff like pitch definition, which is that's some stuff that I always refer to today. The depth of the field, of the room, the deepness of the room. I can hear the front to the back. It emerged from a pool of blackness. So you get all these consumer terms, and then you go, okay, I need to translate that into a professional term. It's almost like working with a producer, and he says, more blue, orange, and it's like, okay, I have to translate this into a technical approach into how to get to what he's telling me. Because what he's saying is very synesthesia-like. So it's very synesthetic. So it's like, I had to convert that. I had to redo the reverse engineering because most people hear the music and they see the color. So I had to reverse engineer that, take the color and work it into technology. So then you take all these terms, you put them together. So then I go into the studio. So I always have this in the back of the head. So that led me to cables. First, you just start at the source. You say, okay, how can I do to easily improve what I'm doing? So you look at cables. That's an easy upgrade. Because if you always go with the stuff that's out of the box, that's just, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But more than likely, it's manufactured because they know that you're not going to really use this cable. We just throwing it in to say we put a cable in the box so you don't complain. Yeah, so you can buy
what's the bare minimum we can get away with?
$10,000 receiver and amplifier that's going to have that cheap RCA, black and white cable in it. It's like, wow, this thing basically
from the dollar store.
Yeah, right, absolutely. It costs less than $1 to manufacture it, but they threw it in anyway just because to give it to you. Now you plug that in, you don't know any better, and then one day, now this is the upgrade that gets you, because one day you go from that. And just say you get Monster cable or something. That's a significant improvement of mine. And I have a lot of things about Monster cable that I don't like because I think they put all their money into marketing. They make good, solid cables, but they put all their money into marketing. So everybody automatically says, well, Monster cable, that must be good cable. Monster cable. Because I heard about it, I read about it, I saw an ad, I saw something. It was like Dre Beats. Monster, oh my God, it's got to be Monster. It's got to be good. Wow. It's got to be better than, I don't want to get a man into trouble or anything, but people always automatically assume that because they put all their money into marketing. It's good engineering, and it made such a difference between the stuff you got in the box to that. So that's a significant step up. So Monster cable ruled that market, the entry level, the high end market. Now, if you did a little more research, and then you be like, hey man, Wireworks. You see an ad and it's like, okay, go check out that cable. And they make beautiful cables. I mean, you look at the cables, it's like, wow, it's well put together. Yeah. And it feels like something significant. There's weight to it. It has locking interconnects and everything. And so you start to go up the ladder, and then you get to a point where you go, okay, do I really want to go forward with this and keep spending money, start selling, my watches and, to get audio gear. So then there's the point you have to go, okay, now that I'm into this realm of upgrades and everything, what's good solid engineering, what's not good solid engineering?
I mean, really, at least getting the key pieces for us, it was upgrading the monitors.
Right.
not exactly getting better monitors, but okay, if cable does matter, we definitely need them on the monitors, because that's what always comes with some crappy cable, and you just pay $700 a monitor, $1,400 a pair, $4,000 or whatever, you know, and then still using a $2 cable, you know, that's coming off the you know, so it was putting it on our monitors that we were like, our small studio sounded like a real studio for a change.
You're right.
For us, that was the difference of like, oh man, you know, we sound like everything is sitting where it's supposed to sit finally, because you're always in this weird limbo in those small rooms of like, this is all right, I'm recording audio, but this doesn't sound like what.
It's like listening.
The
it's like,
depth.
It's
You
like
just
when
don't
you,
get.
it's like looking out the window, and then you open up the window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're looking out the window, everything's muffled.
Yeah.
And you can kind of hear what's going on, and then you open it up, and it's like, wow, you get so much more information, and that's what mixing is all about. Getting all the information, you know, because you don't want to restrict that. It's like you don't want to mix with one eye, you don't want to mix with one ear, you don't, you know, you want to be able to see into the mix and manipulate all the sounds, especially with regards to panning and EQ. You want that to be accurate, and you also want that to translate. Translate down the line. So when it comes out on Spotify or Tidal, whatever it comes out on, it's like, wow, that sounds like the mix I heard.
Exactly exactly what I heard when it left my studio.
And that took a long time to get to. That's a long process.
Oh yeah, but it was a gear thing for us.
Yeah,
it was just like what. For, you know, at first we changed out like the XLR and, or, you know, going into it. Then like a year or so later, we got into Wire World with the power, and we were like, oh,
that's a very important thing.
It took
and
it
USB
like,
as well. And we have one
level.
USB.
And that's something also that I brought in from consumer power. There's issues dedicated to just power supplies, power conditioners. Like again, some of it's solid engineering, some of it's fairy dust. But you have to look at the whole scope of the thing and increase your knowledge and say, okay, wow, everything's not perfect. 60 cycle, 120. You know, 120. 120 volts. Coming in off the wall. You know, it varies. You know, there are different parts of the day. Like, you know, like now it's a hot day. So everybody has the AC on. Everybody, you know, is at home watching TV now. Blah, blah. So the quality of the power is going down because there's everything's being tapped into. So the power gets reduced. And then, you know, late at night is always something you learn. Also, it's better to work or listen to audio stereo systems late at night because everyone's going to bed and the power's better at night and there's less.
So true. Noticed many times
because everybody's
recorded
asleep
at
and all the
night too.
TV's off, everything. So all this stuff is not going back into the line. Everything's not polluting the line anymore. So that's something that's okay. That's logical. That makes sense to me. So then you get into like power strips. Do I get a conditioner? Do I get just you know? And then again, monster cable. That does entry-level things.
They
you know?
sure did.
Yeah, right. And then you step up to something. You know, first I just was into the wall, and then I had a couple of minor, you know, things, nothing significant. Then I read an article in Stereo Review. It was like Essential Products ESP. Yeah,
they make power cables.
I
see them at AES.
Very good company, solid engineering. Michael.
He said he's been developing for like 20 years, over 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he has great stuff.
Michael Griffin is his name.
I met him.
Michael Griffin.
Central Sound Products.
Sound Products.
So I didn't know him. I hadn't met him at this point. So he had like a power strip that it was so you know, I forgot how much it cost, but it was a lot. It was
$1,200 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but this is a long time ago.
Oh wow!
But it was still.
He has one now.
It was still up there.
Yeah.
So it was you know, so I had to get it down to an amount that my wife wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
You know? So then in Bel Air, California, there was a stereo shop. I think it was going out of business, and I just happened to see it, and I go, wow. guess people, let me call and see if they have it. So they had it, and it was a demo, off the floor demo. So I went up there, drove up there, got it, came back, plugged it in, and it was significant health. It felt like wow, significant. It was like, wow, this is something I'm holding in my hand. So the cable was high quality cable, the connectors, everything was just high quality. Plug it in the wall, plug your stuff in. It's like, oh, whoa, okay.
Uh-huh.
And they say that the noise level will decrease. It actually did, because I had a slight hum in one of my speakers, very faint. Crank it way up, it went away. It's the quality of the cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was real copper. It was real, so it's like, okay, it wasn't like, aluminum clad or copper clad aluminum.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times you get that cheap stuff. It's chintzy. That's not copper all the way through. But anyway, that's a good thing. And, you start with cables, and then you start playing around with different power cables. And also, and boys and girls at home listening, if you want to upgrade your system, a lot of great companies like WildWorks, solid engineering company, just an amazing company. Didn't they invent the comparator, the things that allow you to compare cables? It's like a box. It's square and everything, and they can plug in your cables, and then you can do cable tests.
Oh, cable test box.
Mm-hmm.
They have. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have seen that.
Yeah.
It's all in the face.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's in like it most.
Yeah. So and their stuff is
toolboxes
solid,
in there. Yeah.
solidly engineered. Not anything weird or that's so esoteric. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Because some cables defy physics, defy the laws of physics. It's like they can do so much. It's like, no, they can't do that much. That's impossible. It's like a company like that, or if it's like you're just now getting into it and you say, okay, I got the cable that came in the box. I want to do something. I got to do something, but I can't really afford anything. I'm a poor college kid. Whatever. Hospital grade cables.
So true.
Which is most of what a lot of the components, that's how they build their stuff. Because hospital grade stuff has to be.
We have power conditioner. Remember, I bought for $50.
Oh yeah, a battery.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was the battery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the stuff has to be engineered well because you have people's lives on the end of that power.
Yeah. It has to be clean.
Yeah.
Has to be consistent. Has to be at the best of the best level,
right?
And not dipping on a heart machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to upgrade from just a basic in the
We
box.
have one already.
That's a great
my
tip.
house.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
At my house. Yeah. I bought it off of the Craigslist for $50.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's cool.
Somewhere in Jersey.
And that's a great way to upgrade, and then that can be a path into upgrading cables and just researching stuff. Don't go for the snake oil. Just sit there and look. A lot of people are audio engineers, so just read and it makes sense to you. Solidly, engineered. It has a good principles behind it. Just okay. I'll try that. Remember there are places that you can demo cables too, so you can get it, bring it home, try it out. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah.
But then as you ascend up the ladder, then it gets like if you like it, if it fits you, then use it.
If it makes the job quicker and easier to hear, so you can get these mixes out.
Absolutely.
Without a bunch of revisions because you couldn't hear, and then they're listening on another pair of speakers.
The mixes don't translate well.
Yeah.
And you're like complaining, well, my speaker system's not. It's like, they don't want to hear that. They care less.
You have to, if you want to, make a living off of doing this, this is something that you have to address in your system. So,
and it happened recently. One of the guys, he was listening in his BMW. All of the mixes I would send him, he would sit in his BMW and listen to.
A new BMW. One of those
recent, like maybe 5-7 years.
Okay.
Recent. So, and he was like, "Hey, I listen in the car."
Yeah. Cars have great stereo systems now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, built in. You don't even gotta go and fit a bunch of
Bose.
Yeah. Surround too.
Yeah.
I mean,
When I lived in Los Angeles, I had an Audi S4, and it had a Bang & Olufsen system in it.
Oh wow! Yeah.
It was amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was fun.
Wow, I
Crank
didn't
stuff up,
realize
and then
that.
all the car manufacturers are teaming up like JBL.
Oh yeah,
Focal?
yeah, Focals and Peugeot,
Yeah.
all the French stuff. So
Yeah, man. So a lot of the high-end there's a company called, I think, Burmeister. And they're like in Bugattis or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So I mean,
they're
it's
in.
really,
Okay,
really
yeah,
Bugatti.
yeah.
So all these manufacturers, they like, because it's prestige.
Oh yeah,
You know, the higher in the car, the most
Better experience.
Yeah.
the system in it.
and they're moving product. So hey, it helps everybody.
Yeah, that's
nice
great.
partnerships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the consumer end and the professional end, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff you learn from them, and then you learn, well, okay, we're engineers, so we can kind of spot the snake oil.
Oh yeah.
You see it, we got I can't do that.
or just a good old fashioned test. Do I really hear
Well,
it?
that's the thing. Plug it in and hear it.
Yeah,
And that translates to a lot of cables. Then you start with the power. Then I did that, and I did the hospital upgrade just to stay cool and not spending a ridiculous amount of money. And I upgraded to like NHT 3.3 speakers, which is like tall tower speakers with 2 10-inch subs in the side. Very good sounding speaker. Our sound stage could really just blast them, and they could play loud. It was very impressive too, and they coupled with the wall, and you can use the wall to add more bass, or you can pull a formal wall to clean up the bass to make it cleaner, because the subwoofers were designed. The basis of the thing is like, when you put a speaker in the corner and it, and the whole wall resonates, in sympathetic vibration with the wall, and the bass builds up. Is that sort of thing? Is that sort of concept that they base the speakers on? But so then you say, okay, audio cables. I had like a drawer full of them. I had all kinds of, I had Wildworks, I had Kimber, Audio Quest, all solidly engineered cables, all sounding good, And then you get into digital cables, because then I bought an external converter. Take the SPDIF output of your CD player, plug it into the converter.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole nother set of forms for digital cables only.
Which we have those too. We upgraded our.
Yeah. So do you do AS? Do you do SPDIF? Do you do optical? And everybody's like, no, optical, that's horrible. It's like, okay, that's horrible. So then you say, okay, what about SPDIF? SPDIF, okay, that's cool, but AS is like the holy grail of it. And then you get into the cables. And then, then I started reading things, and things started making sense. And then it's like, wait a minute. And then I said, okay, SPDIF cable 75 ohms, right? So it's 75 ohm cable, AES 110. So is that cable actually 75 ohms? And I would actually call up manufacturers to ask them that, and they would go, And I go, well, what about the connector? What kind of connector you put it on the end of that? Did you measure with the connector, or just measure the cable? So it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and then they're like, okay, we get back to the engineering stuff, and then I think one year, I think it was Canary or somebody made a cable, and they made it a point to say that we have a true 75 ohm connector connected to this cable. So I bought that cable. It's not very expensive either. And I forgot what I had. I had like just a standard. I had like just a standard SPDIF cable. I forgot who made it or something, but it's nothing special. Just an entry level cable, and then I plugged that in, and I tell you, I can hear the difference. I can hear the difference. Even my wife can hear the difference. My wife has very good ears, by the way. So, it's a long. That's another long story. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother show.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we met in high school in band, so she's a musician also, and she has very, very good ears, very good hearing. So I sat her down one day. I said, do you hear the difference between this and this? I said, which one you like? She said, I like that one. I said, why? So she told me that the vocal, and she could hear reverb around the vocal a little bit better, had a little bit more presence, But it's like, wow, okay. And I was like, wow, I heard the same thing. So I knew I was not crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a quantifiable change. That's the thing. Is it a quantifiable change? Or are you just making it up because you just wrote that check?
Yeah.
That feels long.
I mean, I personally kind of had that with, I think with kind of Monster and with the Japanese
Mogami.
Mogami.
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah,
didn't really. I personally, I tried, and I was like,
yeah.
I never personally heard the difference with those. So
Right.
that's when I was like, snake oil.
Yeah, right.
It kind of turned me
like
off.
I said, Monster
at
was
first.
all about marketing.
Yeah.
And so the cables, who knows? They look great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The gold plated.
They felt kind of
heavier.
Yeah.
Especially compared to that plastic stuff that came out the box.
Exactly.
Like, wow. And then you had to force them to put them on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was always a resistance. So it was like, wow, this is really locked in.
Yeah.
But I think not significantly better than an entry-level cable.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't really hear the difference, and it wasn't until I got into like clots and then now Wire World with the power, and I mean
Clots cable is very good.
Yeah, clots out. That was our first thing of like, oh, I hear it.
Yes.
The system sounds insanely better now.
Yeah, it has more dynamic range.
Yeah.
It breathes better.
Exactly.
It feels more effortless.
I mean, it takes your monitors to a whole nother. You're like, this is
it's not
the
like
same.
it's coming out of two separate speakers.
Yeah.
It's a sound stage.
Yeah.
So you can see into the mix.
Oh my goodness, that's what I was like. Oh, okay, we gotta.
So that makes mixing a lot easier.
Yes.
Your ears
So much
receive
easier.
Yes,
the way that they normally would.
exactly, and you can place your mixes better. It just
You don't have to mix
do
loud.
it. This is the tools that you have to have. That I always hear. I'll see students and young engineers asking about, and it's like, what can you do without breaking the bank? And it's like,
You're right.
well,
Absolutely.
you need to research or go to these places and try out the cable and try out what you like and bring it back or whatever.
You're
but
right, absolutely.
but
go through a process though.
go
as a
through
process of discovery,
instead of like, I read this review and that review.
Yeah, so I thought I get it. It's like,
Yeah.
you have to come to your own conclusion.
Yeah,
Some things work for you, some things don't. That's
So
why they
true.
make cars in all those colors. That's why they make shirts in all those colors.
Yeah.
Because some things work for people, some things just simply
Yeah,
don't work for
and
them.
you don't have to do a bunch of cables. It can just
No.
be the two for your mic. Just key places like that, or for your vocal setup.
Yeah.
Have a really good chain of cable
Yeah, and spend the money
going
wisely.
through
Know,
every part of your chain.
Is this going to make a difference? It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, you don't need to put that on your headset. On your
Yeah,
on your
right.
headphone, listen
Yeah,
back.
right,
You don't need to put that kind of stuff on that, but everything in your recording chain,
Yes. Start at the microphone and work your way back.
work your way back. You want to have the best possible cables on the power and on your audio side
Right.
to get that next level feel, like
Yeah.
that like, so that you feel like your mix is just really sitting in there.
Yeah, right. And the same thing with consumer, and like if you go to most studios, they just had generic XLR cables, And then when Monster had a lead way, and I was reading Mix Magazine, I forgot who the engineer was, but he said that I went. This is funny because now it's like, that's what everybody does now. He went straight from the microphone into a preamp via Monster cable and directly in the machine. He said it was the most amazing sound he ever heard because he bypassed all the other electronics and transformers and all this stuff. So it's like, well, everybody pretty much records like that now. 'Cause they pretty much go, they go from the microphones to their interface, from the interface via Firewire or Dante or something into their computer now. So that's just like normal. But back then it was such a revelation. So then people would like experiment, and like I said, we bought 16 channels of API preamps just to bypass all that. Because I was reading those articles like that. So I was like, wow, that led us to that position.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So because that made a significant difference. Because a lot of the consoles you would go to in the 80s, late 80s and everything, they sometimes not in the tip-top condition they should be, not in the optimum operating, range or whatever the case may be. So, so you had to figure out a way to work your way around. The studio, because remember, it's very expensive to maintain consoles in studios. You have to have a constant maintenance, but some studios had, some studios didn't. So we just wanted to make the process more consistent, and it also allowed us to set up our own. Because we recorded Requiem, Branford Marcellus' record Requiem, at a place in Terrytown, upstate.
Oh yeah, I've been to Terrytown.
It's a concert hall there, so we
had sure is. Yep.
We had our 16 channels of API, then we rented some more to get it up to 24. We basically built the studio in that concert hall. The way classical engineers and producers would go to a concert hall and build a control room in one of the rooms. The same concept, but it made it so much easier because we had already been doing that in the studio. So it wasn't that big of a deal. So it was pretty much you just go up and you do it by yourself. It's a one-man job. You're lugging out equipment, put preamps on stage, run all the cables and everything, right to the machine and blah, 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 and you get like a monitoring console, like a Studer or something like that. Then maybe you have a Soundcraft. Now it would be... And then later on, it became like a Mackie, you know what I'm saying? But back in the day, then you would either, record to an analog machine, which we recorded analog SR. And then, then one song we recorded to that 33, 48, 24-bit machine that I told you that was like 2 months later was obsolete.
Yeah.
Like $250,000 machine. Later rendered obsolete by Pro Tools. So, or you would recorded D88s or something, with the Studer converters. Remember they used to make the Studer Packer converters and everything.
Yeah.
And then you could plug it right into the D88s, which was a great sound, And you could split bit, you can go up to 24-bit 96K, and then you get half the tracks, and this thing will like split the data. All
right.
Look that up, youngins. Look that up. Those are the good old days where you're trying to get to the higher bit rates and higher sampling rates. You had to. They had to do all kinds
of... Make some sacrifices.
Yeah, all kinds of somersaults to get that. So, and again, that was like, just using the consumer stuff and, and cables and stuff. And we started out using B&W 801 speakers.
B&W,
But those things were thirsty. Woo! Yeah, you talk about thirsty, man. Oh, my God. Those speakers were very inefficient. And they needed a lot of power to drive them. So you had to lug around a huge amplifier and the cables. Oh, my God. And those speakers, oh, my God, were so heavy. And then we had cases for them and everything. It was like, lugging those things around. But now, everything's self-powered. It's not that making life so much easier. Every amplifier in the speaker, if it has one amplifier, 2 or 3, it's optimized for that driver. So, so it's like you have to guess. Like, do I buy a Hafler? Do I buy a Macintosh? Do I buy, whatever amplifier, at that time?
Yeah.
Do I buy a Carver? So it's like everything's optimized for that speaker. So you just plug in those XLRs, and, come off the console, whatever, and you just mix. And it's like, okay. And then, maybe, like you said, maybe if you want to get better, you upgrade the cables, upgrade the power connectors to it. I prepared Gillex at home, which I use the hospital grade, cables that go into the back of them, and then it's coming out of the ESP device, it sounds pretty good, because I could put bigger cables and heavier cables, but they sometimes fall out and everything, so it's not really practical because they're so heavy.
True,
so I have to figure out a way. But it's like the room that I need. It's like those work great, and they actually help clean up the audio because they're solidly engineered, they're solidly built. Because they have to have string reliefs internal. They have to have 3 separated prongs, separating the ground from the positive and negative. So they're really well engineered cable. They have to have so much insulation in them because they have to meet a standard that goes into hospitals. So that makes them that's solidly engineered cables. So that's a great entry point, and they sound good. They're not taking anything away. They're not trying to add anything because when we mix, we need neutrality, right?
So true.
So we don't need.
I don't need
the high end. So it's like when I was talking about
colored
mixing to
engineer.
With the NS10s. It's like, well, how much you sacrifice or guess what your vocal level is, or what your high end level is. You need accuracy.
Yeah.
When I'm putting 3 dB or 10K on something, it's like that needs to be what it sounds like. Not, I shouldn't have did that because it's actually 6 dB or 10K. Yeah, right. Or something like that. Because it was already, 10K was already prevalent, but I didn't hear it. And you look at the analyzer, you see it, but you don't hear it. It's like, it's crazy. And then you're second guessing yourself, because that's the last thing a mixer needs to do is second guess himself. Him or herself.
True.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So true.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot second guess yourself.
And that's why you need these pieces of gear.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. That's why you need to think about the whole chain.
I mean, it's
and
no
a great
magic
starting point.
Yeah, I mean,
cables.
you have most people, if you're getting into this, you have a decent set of ears. You can tell the difference between certain instruments or whatever. But I think that's what we're all searching for, is that perfection of hearing neutral.
Sometimes I feel like you don't have to crank it up so loud when you mix with better cables.
Because that's the reason why you crank it up, because you want to hear more elements in a
Uh-huh.
mix. So you have to crank it up to a certain level to get above.
Yeah.
Basically, all the noise that's being generated by your system.
Yeah.
Because the system's not properly grounded, it's not properly power conditioned, it's making noises, humming, all that stuff. You have to get above all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, but then you get better cables, power conditioning.
It goes down.
Everything goes down. And
Yep.
like I'm saying, like the consumer term, it emerges from a pool of blackness. I like that, yo. Emerge from
Love it. I love it. That's a great explanation.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
I mean, start writing some novels.
yeah.
He emerged. Look at Sam Jackson.
Sound.
Turn the corner and he emerged.
Sound
He
novels.
emerged from a pool of blackness.
Sound novels.
There you go. That's the money right there. Made with high-end microphones and high-end cable.
I know. Hey, you do the audio version to
Right,
it. We
uh-huh.
already ready for that.
Yeah, right.
Immersive audio on
Right.
it.
Immersive.
Yeah. So what we're working on next today, we're gonna listen to some cables. We're gonna do a video on that
Okay.
with you too, Patrick. And delve even more. I think we're gonna play some samples in the video. Try and give you the flattest recording from each.
Okay.
Or maybe the
I may have
recording you like.
something, Yeah, right.
You can hear, or maybe
You're
you
right.
can just grab it from
Yeah.
YouTube.
Maybe it makes.
Yeah.
Maybe if it makes my bad recordings and makes it sound better, then that's okay. Wow, that's different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll say, let's see what I put on the butcher block. See if that makes it sound better. Or maybe it makes it sound the way it sounded when I heard it in the studio, which is like No, I'm just playing.
Was that there?
Yeah, right. And also, take your recordings to like a high end stereo store that you mixed on and play it there, and that's to see what that sounds like.
That's very true. That's very true. If you have a nice mixing setup, that's one thing. But once you get to, like you said, that's the end all be all.
Yeah.
Is the people to listen to
Consumer.
Is consuming. It's the people who paid for this particular project.
Yes, absolutely.
So, are there any more chains of that anymore? I haven't been to a high end. I used to love going to them. I hadn't seen them. What was it?
I was trying to
Sound
think of-
Investment?
I was trying to think. Oh yeah.
Or was that Sound on Sound? Well, it was a chain. I don't see them anymore now.
Yeah.
Or I guess since
Well,
I moved up here.
I recently had the pleasure of going to a place in Brooklyn. I had to pull up the name because I wanted to get it right. It's called Oswald Mill Audio.
Oh,
And
you mentioned
all
that
his speakers
before.
are
Yeah.
based on horns. Horns are really ultra efficient ways to reproduce sound. They require very low power. So I went with my friend Stephen Jevin, who's also a musician, who we should actually bring him down to the studio so we get a musician's perspective on technology and everything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he invited me up, and I went there, and the owner and proprietor of the place didn't know what I had. I was an engineer, but you know what I did. So he's playing a bunch of examples. Like he played me a Duke Ellington record. Oh my God! It was like they were standing in the room. It was 3D. It's like when you get to great sound, it's almost holographic, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, even those two speakers, it's almost like holographic. It's like amazing. It wraps around you, and the presence is there. So he played a Duke Ellington piece, I think, and it was just amazing. And then he started playing a bunch of different other stuff. Then he just put on an album of an album that I did, where I mixed Trio GP. It was Jeff Watts and Milt Tinton and Branford.
Wow.
And it sounded amazing. It was like, wow. It was, it was interesting because I say like hearing into the mixes and being able to hear the size of the room, you could actually feel the dimensions of the room because it wasn't a big room. It was a medium. I'd say, oh no, that's a small size room for studios back then. Today, this would be a large room.
Yeah.
Because now they record in much smaller rooms now. But back then, because RCA, Studio A being the standard, and then you work your way down, that would have been a small room relative to that. So, and you could feel the size of the room. It was amazing. And I was like, wow. It was jaw-dropping.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
And it was like you could actually hear because a lot of times, even that early in the day, like I would take my CDs or something I did to a music store, high-end music store, and they would play them, and I would hear things in it that I never heard when I mixed it. It's like, well, I didn't know I had that much reverb. Oh my God. Ooh, that's a lot of top end.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's not quite enough bass. So that really got me focused in on, because of that, back in the studio, I have to make sure I have a great setup. And so then I bought my cables, and I bring my cables to all the studios. I bring my own
you
speakers
do that?
to studio.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So then I'm saying, you upgrade, you have to level up, basically. So everything has to come up.
You sure
so,
do.
yeah, so you learn from that. And that's a great thing. You go to where it's going to end up. You listen there, you go, uh-oh. And so I would make notes. You can say, go back to the drawing board.
Yes.
And like this place, go to Oswald Mill Audio, and I heard the mix. I was like, wow, that was amazing. That was just jaw-dropping to hear that much detail, that much clarity in a mix. I only had that happen to me one time. Actually, it was during this record that I was mixing at Capitol Records on the Neve that Rupert Neve himself oversaw the installation of. It's not there anymore. No, that console's not there. But it was mixing on B&W speakers, very simple setup, because my nickname is JTPQ, because I used a lot of EQ when I first started. And Delphio Marsalis gave me the nickname JTPQ, so it became JTPQ. So then I got into a mode. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not going to use any EQ. So it's like, and then I started reading articles and figuring out, because it's just, when you're young, you're trying to figure out your way and how you're going to approach how you work.
Exactly. Your
so,
flow.
So then it's like, well, wait a minute. I really don't need EQ. And then I think I forgot who it was. I talked to. It was like a great engineer, and said, well, you go out and you move the microphone, or you get another microphone. You don't just grab the EQ. That's not the right way to do it. Go out in the room, listen to the musicians, move the microphone. So it's like, and pick the microphone that fits the sound that you're trying to hear. Not go out and put any microphone on a source and then try and EQ it to get it to sound like it should sound. So I started picking better microphones and start making better decisions, and started using now when I record, I don't use any EQ or compression. And back then, so this is a record that I was in that mode, because I'm like, forget Delphio, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna use any more EQ, no more compression, no more processing, just maybe some reverb. But great thing, Capitol had the chambers, so we used the chambers. I used very little EQ. I maybe used like no more than 3 dB boost. I didn't cut then. Maybe just boost. So in one mix, I think it was the nearness of you. Played it back right before I laid it down, and it was just like, this is it. I finally did a mix that I love.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And even the people in the room were like, oh my God, that sounds like they're standing right in front of you. And then immediately put it down, and then that was it. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's still translated, and I didn't hear it until I heard it on this system, another super high-end system. And I was like, wow. That sounded the way that it should have sounded.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so you got it.
Yeah, that's the only time that it went from that. And then later on, the years as we got better and better speakers, that was more easier. The process is a lot more transparent. Plus, but the thing then, you had to go to mastering. Somebody had to master both, and they still do, with CDs and everything. But you have to go to mastering. You have to go sit with somebody like Bob Ludwig. You had to sit with, what was that? Ted Jensen, or any of these guys, great mastering engineers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've have both of our opinions on wires, and now we're gonna listen to these said wires.
And
You know what?
We're gonna listen to some mixes and go into that. Thank you for
That's the fun part.
Oh yeah,
That's the fun part.
exactly. The
Yeah.
fun part.
One last thing before I go. Any young engineer, if you want to do this, you have to spend hours and hours listening to songs, everything. Get your notepad out, sit in front of your speakers, or get a really good pair of headphones. If you can't afford a system, invest in a really, really good pair of headphones. I know you guys still use them to reference your mixes when you mix.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pair of Sennheiser HD600s, 650s. I replaced the cable. I had a guy make me a custom cable, Klotz cable, and I have like a really high-end headphone amplifier, and that's my reference sometimes. When I can't listen to speakers or like I'm kind of tired of listening to that real low, and that gives you another perspective.
Yep.
And then you take the headphones off to see, is this translating? That gives you another reference. And then, of course, you go out to the car, you use the Oratones, even though they changed the Oratones. You know, like the old Oratones, but the paper Oratones, not the new one. But you go out, or listen to you on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
But always have references, because sometimes the vocal may be too far forward, too far back. But the more you listen, the easier it is when you go to the studio.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Sit in the room for hours. I used to turn the lights out, close my eyes, and listen for hours.
Yep.
So Troy, I think it helps.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yep.
think it helps when you close your eyes and it helps
does.
you concentrate
Because
on.
it's distraction.
Yeah.
And then your ears become more aware.
Uh-huh.
It's just like,
Yeah.
So just listen. That's the key component here.
It is. That's the practice.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the everyday. You have to know the reactions that you
Yeah.
want to get out of the out of the gear.
And everybody has their favorite brands. They have their favorites.
Yeah,
As long as
yeah.
it's getting the end results.
The
that you
end
want,
result.
then that's
Exactly.
cool. I'm all for that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit and berate. And also another mixer, Bob Wiley, who mixed the Tonight Show. When he mixed the production, he was the head audio mixer there at Tonight Show. He was really into consumer audio and a brilliant engineer. So we used to have great conversations.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God! And he knew a lot of engineers like Bill Schnee in town, and so sometimes you have conversations about that. So he knew both sides too, both the consumer end and the professional end.
Yeah.
And that helps out a great deal when you have somebody you can sit and talk with, nerd talk,
Yeah.
for hours and hours and hours. And your wives are rolling, and they're rolling their heads back in their head. Like, oh my God. It's like,
Yeah.
so when you get that response from your partner, then you know you're doing it right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
So true,
That's
so
the
true.
and that's
absolutely. But listen.
Listen.
That's the thing.
Exactly. When you record, listen back. It may not even be the mix.
Yeah,
the
right,
mix.
absolutely. And
You want to
also-
hear what did you do with placement
And
and
I know that
stuff.
helps you when you mix live sound.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Because now you have a reference, and now the systems are so good. It's like, wow, I want this to sound
You can
like the
you
CD.
can pretty much my gold standard to like really take it to another level. How I would practice was just taking the left right recording and then listening back to it on the way home.
Right,
And I can admit, that vocal is so far back.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I mean, really, my whole thing, and I got this from Dave Ratt, was to get my left right out to match what I was hearing coming out of the speakers. And the closer I got to that, and that's hard to do because then you're like,
well,
I
'cause
have
in
to
the same space
think
as
about
the source.
as the
Right.
source.
Uh-huh.
So, but it was like when you turn up those headphones, you want to be able to be like,
Yeah.
and not be like, oh, that's insanely different from what I hear
Right, absolutely.
here. And so it was like, okay, that's how I started like tweaking systems so that I could get the, whatever I was doing on the faders was going to my recordings.
Right.
So the better I had my gain structure, the better those sounded. And it was like, oh, okay, I really got to get on this gain
Yeah,
thing.
right,
Like
absolutely.
you really hear when it's not saturated enough.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Oh, and it's too it's coarse
yeah, right.
distortion,
Especially with
but
digital technology.
yeah,
Because really, you're dealing with bits. And unless you this is a Charlie Bowie theory. Charlie Bowie's he's the mixer on the Tonight Show with me for years. He mixed the music on Harry Connick Jr. And he's a large percentage of the reason why we won an Emmy, because the music sounded so great on that show, and that's Charlie Bowie.
Yeah.
So Charlie's theory was like, when you're mixing digital, you have to basically fill up the bit bucket. If you mix in and your levels are hitting like really, really low, you're not getting enough bits. So then you're not getting a robust sound.
Yep.
So it's like, so you have to have a certain level. Not too much, not too little. Because remember, you go too high, you run out of information. Not like analog, where it just softens the blow and it saturates.
Yep.
It clips.
Yep.
Once you out of information, you out of
That's
bits,
it.
baby. There's nothing you can do. Not even Scotty from Star Trek can save you.
Yep.
Sorry, Captain, we got no more bits.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
So you got to hit in the sweet spot. Yeah.
And then listening back, and then
And every converter is different. Like again, from consumer audio, you learn the deviation from linearity of different processors and products.
Yep.
So you learn where to have that sweet spot.
Yep.
Every processor, everything has its sweet spot. It's not at the top, it's not at the bottom, but it's somewhere in there.
Yep.
So once you find that, hey, you're good to go.
Yeah. And then once I started getting that consistently, it took that, if people are like, wow, whenever you're here, it sounds that naturally, you get the ultimate compliments, So,
Doing live concerts, I know people are bold. Tap
you. Hey,
sounds horrible. I was here last week and I saw so it sounded way better. Well, you don't know what you doing, little girl.
Well, lead singer's girlfriend would definitely come up and
exactly.
she'll
This
like,
is my cousin.
Exactly.
You need to turn him up.
Exactly.
I'm a donor.
Exactly. So
and they're sitting like so close to the stage, the speakers are firing behind them.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, bro, you need
you got that
VIP
sitting, like that's like, you gotta have that good that good front layer hitting that VIP section in the front.
Well, that's the thing. You gotta put those front fills down. You're like, okay,
those front fills right off the
Mm-hmm.
stage to hit the money makers. So that's how that rolls.
Mm-hmm.
But you're gonna see a video we're gonna put out a little bit after this. It's gonna correspond with this podcast. Okay. So now you got the long form of how we feel about it. You're going to get the 1.5-minute version via video. So thank you for listening. We're on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Actually, not iTunes. Apple Podcasts. R.I.P. iTunes.
Separate that out, man. He broke it up.
Yes. So, so again, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram, Pimp Tech. PIMPTECH. Pimp Tech.
Pimp Tech.
And then I love everything audio. I love consumer audio. I love audio. I love anything that sounds good. I love Formula One racing. So I love motocross racing. I love anything with sounds in it.
Oh,
because the sound of a Formula One car is
loud
the most
sound.
amazing thing in the world. Oh my God, And like we share a love of coffee.
Yeah. And Formula One. I do. I'm a fan of that too. All right. So we'll be Pimp Tech on IG. Patrick Smith, American Idol, head of broadcast audio. Let's go. From me, Dennis, Patrick. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
For more information of booking 23DB Productions, visit their website at 23dbproductions.com. Like and follow 23DB Productions at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for the latest work.